I never imagined that one decision, made out of necessity, would shift the course of my life and teach me lessons I never thought I'd need to learn. My name is Rebecca, and for most of my adult life, I lived with a fairly predictable routine. I worked long hours as a nurse's assistant at the local hospital, came home to my small one-bedroom apartment, and kept to myself. Life wasn't glamorous, but it was steady, and I was grateful for it. Then, everything changed when my niece, Emily, who had just turned 19, needed a place to stay. Emily had always been bright, full of energy, and independent. But life threw her some challenges she wasn't prepared for. Her mom, my older sister, was going through a difficult divorce, and in the chaos, Emily felt lost and unsteady. College classes had started. She was working part-time at a coffee shop, and she needed a stable place to land. That's when she called me one late evening, her voice trembling as she asked, "Aunt Rebecca, do you think I could stay with you for a while? Just until I figure things out." I didn't hesitate. "Of course," I told her. "Your family. You can stay as long as you need." What I hadn't considered at that moment was the size of my apartment. It was small, really small. Just a single bedroom, a tiny living area, and a kitchenette. There was barely room for me, let alone another person. But Emily was desperate, and I loved her too much to turn her away. The only option was to share my bedroom. At first, it seemed temporary. She moved in with just a couple of bags, mostly clothes, her laptop, and some books. I cleared half my closet for her things, and we set up a small corner for her study desk. She slept on a fold-out mattress right next to my bed. That first night, we laughed about how cramped it was. "It's like a sleepover," she giggled, and I smiled, though in the back of my mind I wondered how long we could really manage this arrangement. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Sharing such a small space wasn't easy. We had to coordinate everything: who used the bathroom first in the mornings, where to put our laundry so it didn't pile up in the middle of the floor, and even when to turn off the lights at night. Privacy became a luxury we no longer had. Yet, in the middle of the inconvenience, something unexpected happened. Emily and I grew closer than we had ever been before. At first, our conversations were light, about her classes, my long shifts at the hospital, or the latest TV series we were watching together on my old laptop. But as the nights stretched on, our late-night talks turned deeper. Emily began to open up in ways she never had before. She told me about her fears of not fitting in at college, the pressure she felt to succeed, and how the divorce had left her feeling torn between her parents. I listened, sometimes offering advice, other times just letting her cry. There were nights I came home exhausted, but hearing her stories reminded me of my own struggles when I was her age. I remembered what it felt like to be 19, confused, hopeful, overwhelmed, and searching for direction. Suddenly, my small room wasn't just a place to sleep. It became a safe space where honesty and vulnerability lived. Of course, it wasn't always smooth. We argued too. Living in tight quarters meant every little annoyance felt amplified. One evening, I came home after a 12-hour shift to find her laundry still scattered all over the floor. "Emily," I sighed, trying not to sound harsh, "we can't live like this. This room is too small for us to be messy." She rolled her eyes and muttered, "I'll do it later, Aunt Rebecca. Stop nagging." That stung, and we didn't speak for a few hours. But eventually, she came over, hugged me, and whispered, "I'm sorry. I know you're tired. I'll be better." We both had to learn patience. She adjusted to my routines, and I learned to give her the independence she craved. Slowly, our cramped space turned into something surprisingly comforting. We developed little rituals: Friday night takeout dinners on the floor, sharing popcorn while watching movies, Sunday mornings making pancakes together, late-night pep talks before her exams. Then one night, something happened that truly changed everything. I had just gotten home from work, drained and frustrated after a particularly rough day. Emily noticed right away. "Aunt Rebecca, are you okay?" she asked gently. I brushed it off at first, saying I was fine. But she pressed on. "No, really. Talk to me." I finally broke down. For the first time, I admitted how overwhelmed I felt, how lonely I had been before she moved in, and how much pressure I carried working long hours just to make ends meet. Emily listened the way I had been listening to her all those nights. She reached over, held my hand, and said, "You've always been there for me. Let me be here for you too." That moment shifted something deep inside me. I realized that our roles weren't just aunt and niece, or older caretaker and younger dependent. We had become true companions, two women navigating life's challenges together, supporting each other in ways neither of us expected. Months passed, and Emily eventually saved enough to move into a shared apartment closer to her college. The day she packed her bags, I felt a lump in my throat. Our little room looked emptier than ever. "I'll miss this," she said softly. "As crazy as it sounds, sharing this room with you changed me." I smiled through tears and told her the truth. It changed me too. Even after she moved out, the lessons remained. I learned that sometimes the most uncomfortable circumstances lead to the strongest bonds. Sharing that tiny room with Emily taught me patience, compassion, and the beauty of truly listening. It reminded me that no matter how small a space may be, love and understanding can make it feel like the biggest place in the world. And to this day, whenever Emily visits, she doesn't sit in the living room. She comes straight to my bedroom, sits on my bed, and says, "Remember when this was ours?" We laugh, but deep down we both know that little room, crowded and messy, was where everything changed.